I want to thank Stan Lee and Peter Paul.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way, I'd take back those words that
It was an extraordinary array of the leadership of the Democratic Party and A-list Hollywood.
I'm a guy who's dealt with superheroes most of my life.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
The new purchasers of Marvel fired Stan. We decided to start our own company, starting with one employee and $500,000 that I put together.
Peter set me free.
Stan Lee, some big announcement he's making about the internet.
Within a year, we had a market cap in excess of $300 million. I decided, well, maybe I should reach out to Bill Clinton to work with us and be a rainmaker for the company when he left the White House.
My first entrepreneurial venture was setting up a comic book stand and used comic books. I had 2 Foot Lockers full of them.
I could accomplish my objective by becoming a major contributor to the party.
I don't know about you, but I've been to 1 or 2 of these events.
It's critical that we all chip in and contribute whatever we can.
We want to thank you, and we're going to be there for you.
Oh, that's great.
It was great to see you.
Look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
This has nothing to do with campaign contributions at all.
How are you?
Nice to see you again.
I'm very glad to see you again.
And I also want to thank Stan and Joan and Peter and Andrea for their support.
My interest in supporting Hillary Clinton was specifically to hire Bill Clinton.
I'm thrilled. You got me all jazzed up.
And they concocted a big fundraiser for Hillary.
This fundraiser in August 2000 in Los Angeles raised more than $1 million for then Senate candidate Hillary Clinton.
I want to thank Stan Lee and Peter Paul.
I had accomplished hiring a president of the United States to work with me when he left the White House. The Washington Post published the first article
of Peter Paul having a felony record from 2 decades previous.
And that I didn't contribute any money to her campaign, and she vowed she wouldn't take any money from me.
And her representatives, in making these false allegations, were lying on her behalf.
The Clintons now had to pretend that they did not even know who Peter Paul was.
Did you recall Mr. Paul? Do you recall working with him at all?
A few days later, on August 18th, they each sent me handwritten letters which professed our undying friendship, their undying gratitude. A full 2 weeks from the original story in which Hillary vowed never to take money from me, her finance director faxed me a request for $100,000. My reaction to that was, well, why would I send any more money when you vowed not to take any more money from me?
This appears that it was planned all along that they were going to deceive Peter Paul, steal his Japanese business partner, and do damage to his company. Tendo Oto had promised to infuse Stan Lee Media with $5 million in November of 2000. Bill Clinton's business partner, Jim Levin, had flown to Japan, stolen Tendo Oto as a business partner, made his own agreement.
And what he had effectively done was convince Oto, instead of working with the president with me and my company, that he could work directly with the president with Levin. So that began to trigger a meltdown of the stock. The company collapsed as a result. I discovered that in the filings that Hillary's campaign filed with the FEC, they had entirely omitted any reference to any of my contributions.
The Clintons took $2 million from me and hid it.
Now, what we're looking at here is the largest election law fraud in the history of the United States.
And he told the feds that the Clinton campaign lied about it.
Don't tell everything.
And I delivered a demand letter to Hillary Clinton. We had filed the civil suit against the Clintons, which detailed all the money that I'd spent with copies of checks and invoices. And then I discovered that I was being investigated in connection with the misuse of my brokerage accounts. I was suddenly detained by Interpol in Brazil for extradition. They moved me to a remote part of this jail, which was called the Corridor of Death. The Clintons were able to have the original civil suit thrown out on the basis of that I was a fugitive at the time.
Hillary's skill has been in seeing to it that obvious crimes didn't reach the level of being placed in front of a jury. Because if they ever had, she might have been baking cookies in the same place that Martha Stewart did.
The court held that the case should proceed to trial.
But clearly this could have implications for Mrs. Clinton's political future.
Sure, this could have serious implications not just for her 2006 re-election campaign, but for 2008, where she's the front runner for the presidential nod.
The chief of public integrity finally indicted David Rosen.
The Fed's charging David Rosen with intentionally understating contributions for a Hollywood fundraising gala.
Hillary Clinton's former chief fundraiser under fire
for allegations of lying about the cost of a fundraiser put together on her behalf.
The judge that officiated over the Rosen trial was appointed by the Clintons.
The judge went out of his way, took every possible effort to make certain that everyone on that jury knew that Hillary Clinton had nothing whatever to do with what Mr. Rosen did. The whole idea was, we have to make sure that Hillary is completely out of this, and we have to make sure that Peter Paul is totally discredited.
Senator Clinton has not been charged in the case.
The media have not abrogated their responsibilities uniquely in the case of Hillary Clinton. They always have a tendency to fear power and to suck up the power.
Hillary Clinton is not in the loop in any direct way.
It would be very difficult to stretch fingerprints to the senator herself.
I'd be amazed if there's any evidence directly.
You're making an accusation. Can you prove it? How can you prove it? What proof do you have?
Hillary Clinton called me in my office in July of 2000, and I started my video camera.
Whatever it is you're doing, is it okay that I thank you?
I think it's tremendous. No, you know what? We're having a good time trying to help out.
Well, I'm very appreciative, and it sounds fabulous. I got a full report from Kelly today when she got back and told me everything that you're doing, and it just sounds like it's going to be a great event. But I just wanted to call and personally thank all of you. I'm glad you were all together so that I could tell you how much this means to me, and it's going to mean a lot to the president, too.
First of all, it shows that she had personal involvement and personal knowledge of the details of this gala. You hear her describing how she solicited a contribution by share. Therefore, she was soliciting an illegal contribution. So that, too, is a violation of the law. And the FEC law is quite clear. It is a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in jail for a candidate to be directly involved in this sort of fundraising activity if it exceeds $25,000. And the FEC found that it exceeded $1.2 million. It's crime on tape, very simple.
What we're seeing here is a corruption of the political process, a corruption of the electoral process.
Hillary Clinton and her representatives have been able to squash investigations in all three branches of government.
The corruption just seems to extend to everything.
When citizens truly care about an issue, they sometimes have to put their lives and careers on the line for that issue, and that's what Peter Paul is doing in this case.
People will finally realize the threat posed by Hillary Clinton to this country and the rest of the world.